Hey everybody, welcome to Dad's Den of Pop Culture and Alpha Flight Monday. We got 3 Mondays left, and this is one of them. And 4 books to look at. And this is the biggie. This is the one we've been leading up to for quite some time, although, as I've mentioned, in a somewhat inconsistent and haphazard way. Special double-size issue number 50, September of 1987. Let's slide these other books out of the way, and let's focus on this one, where many things are going to be, well, resolved, mostly, sort of, kind of. Our team has ventured into the Arctic, where they find, in this snowy plain, a single rose growing. Now, this harkens back to the X-Men Alpha Flight crossover that was covered on this channel. Seek and you shall find. And during that, Loki was involved in bringing the X-Men and Alpha Flight to this northern area where there was this magical fountain of light that could cure people's ills, give them powers, etc. Well, we're going to get to that in just a moment. We'll see. They'll be reminiscing on that. But Alpha Flight has returned. Now, why have they returned? North Star is desperately ill. Aurora has once again, she has a split personality. They're hoping to cure this brother and sister. And they came up here because they thought maybe some of that power still remains. This one is brought to us by Bill Mantlo, June Brigman, Whilce Portacio, Janice Chang, Bob Sharon, Carl Potts, and Jim Shooter. And so here we get a little synopsis of the last issue and their fight with Omega and what brought them to this. And we get a little bit on why they've come. And here we have Puck once again. And he's become a one-note character at this point, which really saddens me. I loved Puck. As Omega destroyed Roger, Mr. Jeffries inherited Roger's robot and has transmutated it into the new box. He's got the power now to offer himself to Vindicator. While I, though I love her, am little more than an acrobatic dwarf. And I'll be honest with you, if I was a dwarf, if I was a little person, boy, I'd be sick and tired of hearing about this. I mean, let's just get that out there. But the point is, also, he's not really a dwarf. That's just part of this curse because he took on this demon inside of himself to save everybody. And he knows that. And, I think that should help him a little bit. But at any rate, he has at this point become a very one-note character. And you kind of get the feeling that that's not going to go to a good place now. So he's reminiscing, getting cured by the fountain of light. And so he very much wants to find this same, healing power that they're looking for. But they do bring up the point that the magic fountain was killing supernatural and magical creatures nearby. Here we see Shaman and Snowbird. So there was an evil side. It wasn't without a price. And ultimately, they discover it was Loki who was behind the whole thing. So they kind of get up there and they're going, well, it's not here, but the rose is here. So there must be some magic left. So Jeffries' box transforms into this drill and starts drilling down to see what he can find. And he gets down and discovers the underground Viking village that they had discovered. And so they head down, but Aurora, by the way, they got a new winter outfit for Aurora, and I like it a lot better than the last one. She's afraid of the dark, and she doesn't want to do it. And, North Star's like, I have to go get her back, but he's in no condition to do so. And her, seeing that, she changes her mind and she returns. So Aurora's, one of her problems is her selfishness, and now she's doing something for her brother. Now, enter Loki, who put spells on the whole thing so that he would know when somebody had come back. And he goes, well, what can I do to get a little revenge on Alpha Flight? Those above have forbade me to take revenge, but maybe I can do a few little tricks and get a little bit of revenge without, getting in trouble. And so they head down into the darkness. And then we kind of flip back to Tamarind Island, and we see Mannequin and Purple Girl, and it's kind of like a nice little teen thing. Now, as I said before, they have sort of aged up Purple Girl from what I can tell. Now, Mannequin had been Dr. Knapp, had to be in his mid-20s. A little bit weird. I'm wondering if when his powers asserted themselves and he could split into these different people, because when he split, it wasn't like three creatures and Knapp. It was Knapp disappeared and there were four people there. And I'm wondering if what was left of Knapp was his teenage self. Because clearly this is like a teenage thing here. Maybe somebody went, oh, hey, minute, that's kind of weird, actually. We need to maybe do something about that. So they get down into the pit, and they start looking around, and they find where the fountain had been. Now, of course, the fountain is gone. And Aurora is desperate for some kind of healing. She's had a very hard life. Since she was, deposited at this nunnery. So she goes down into this pit, which again, not something she likes to do. And she returns and says, I've found a doorway beyond which the magic lies. So they head down there and they get into a little debate about should we go through this thing or not? There's a price to this kind of healing, and it was created by Loki, so it's probably evil. Well, maybe Loki didn't create it. Maybe he just found it. They decide they're going to go in. And Puck is for it because he wants to be cured of his condition once and for all. And they really don't know what else they're going to do for Aurora and Northstar. So they all pair up and they open it up and they see like a whole different world down there and one that doesn't look all that nice. And here's a little moment between Vindicator and Aurora. A lot of us blamed your selfishness for what happened to Roger Box. But by pressing forward, despite your terror of the darkness, to save Northstar, well, you've done a lot to redeem yourself. That's pretty frank, pretty honest, and not completely untrue either. So they go in looking, and here's now where Loki is going to close the gate behind them. And he's going to do a little trickery that he's hoping will not technically be treated as revenge. And he makes Northstar break out in a fever. And we ain't talking about cowbells here, folks. And this is a nice scene between brother and sister who have been at odds in the past. If they touch, their powers are negated. And if the powers are negated, Aurora will be in darkness, which she hates, and she embraces her brother anyways. And so they finally decide we're gonna leave you two behind here for a moment so we could seek out what we're looking for. And Aurora, gives her brother something to drink. And so off they go, and they find another passage to the fire fountain. Didn't someone describe this thing as being composed of pure white light? Sasquatch is right. This one's black as pitch. Then have we, after all, been tricked? Oh yes, dwarf, tricked indeed. You guessed half right. 'Twas not I who wrought the benevolent magic of the first fire fountain. It did in truth spring from one of the realms of Faerie, that known in your mythology as Alfheim, where the light elves dwell. Sadly, that gate has been forever shut, but there are other gates leading to yet another fairy realm. 'Twas one such gate to which your desperation and my deceptions didst lead thee. Thus your quest has brought you to the realm of Svartalfheim, the land of the dark elves. last time we saw them really was, well, maybe the last time. Last time I saw them was in Thor and the whole Malekith storyline. And in fact, the Black Elves or the Dark Elves have found them. And we now have a pitched battle going between Alpha Flight and the Elves. And, Puck is in there fighting and falls into the pit. See Sasquatch yelling his name as he falls. And as he falls into it, it once again does, in fact, cure him. And he goes back to his original size. I'm whole again. My original age, my original size. The curse that made me a dwarf has been lifted, but not canceled, as Anodyne negated it. No, that's the price this evil fire fountain has extracted. I'm cured. And let's get past the D&D manual of planes. I'm cured, but because the fire fountain released the demon that dwelled within me, I've obtained my salvation by unleashing Razor on my friends. I'm sorry. Not the most heroic end. Is it the end of Puck? So Razor the demon is now released, and Loki thinks it's great fun, and he appears behind Aurora, who now shines her light, and there's the little demons with him. Loki, we should have known you'd seek revenge. You wrong me, wench. I have not come to torment you, but to open your eyes to the truth. What truth? Okay, so here we're going to finally find out the secret history of Aurora and North Star. And so he plunges them back into darkness, and the two dream. And what they discover in the dream is that they are, in fact, never were, in fact, mutants, but rather half elves. Their father discovered an elf mound, and he ends up, in love with one of them, and she returns to the mortal world with him, and they have children. And the light elves are not happy about this, and they end up causing this car accident and taking the body of their mother back to, the fairy realm, and leaving the babies and the father to, die, essentially. Which, if you, read old fairy stories, yeah, they're kind of a heartless people. And so now they know the truth, and he leaves them to be attacked by the demons. By the way, there's some really good art in this one by Brigman. Great style, an economy of line and detail when they don't need it. Yeah, she's really good. I really like her art here. So they're attacking. She finally bursts forth with her light. Unhand my brother, you scum of the shadows. And, why do you postpone the inevitable, my sister? What do you mean, Jean-Paul? We're doomed. You heard what Loki said. Unless we can somehow attain our mother's realm, every instant spent here on the world of our father brings us that much closer to madness and death. And so that's kind of the point. So it looked like we were heading for an AIDS storyline with North Star. But in fact, it's sort of him being in this mortal world that's polluting him and killing him. That feels a little bit like a audible that was called at some point on a different storyline, but okay. So Aurora decides, she's going to give her light to her brother to save him. My terror of the darkness might indeed drive me to insanity, but I would risk madness and more that you might live. Sister, do not do this. What is my life worth if it must be purchased with yours? And so she pours her light into him. And his fever is gone. I'm not coughing. Sacre bleu, I am clean. I am cured. But what of Aurora? And you see the demons are carrying her away, and they're attacking him. And so he's trying to find his sister, and he's fighting with these demons. And meanwhile, Alpha Flight is fighting Razor. and he's got like this magic sort of sword. And so Box is all, I'm hoping the fact that I'm as much robot as man means that it won't be able to hurt me. Yeah, I hoped wrong. Geez, one swipe of that sword and Box shrunk. That's how Puck became a dwarf. I don't intend to lead a team of Micronauts. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Of course. Micronauts, very popular series from Marvel, written and really kind of created by Bill Mantlo. It was based loosely on a toy line, but he kind of invented the whole thing, really. It had only a tangible relationship to the toys. So, little throwback line there. I don't think we get a ROM line here, but we could have gotten that too. So they basically decide, we got to get out of here. We can't fight them all. You know, she takes a hit from this thing too. You know, there is no other. So he says, only one man has ever bested me, and that is because he was willing to doom himself to unending agony to contain me within him. There is no other way to defeat me. Would you do the same? And basically, the answer is no. Northstar now appears, drives him away with the light, which gives them time to escape back up through the gate. And you see Box here lifting that giant heavy gate while Vindicator is fighting the Dark Elves. And so up they go through, they close it, and Northstar says, Vindicator, do you realize what you've just done? Yes. Yes, Northstar, I do. And she seals the gate, seemingly forever, although I'm going, but Madison Jeffries, once he's out of the box armor, can transmute metal as he likes. So, I mean, technically, they could get back in if they needed to. In fact, he could have probably transmuted that thing into some mega death bot, but okay. And they have mentioned during the storyline, once he's inside the robot body, he can only transmute it, not other metal. And you remember I was saying they're going to need to find a way to curb his power. It's a little bit too much. Well, that's how they've curbed the power. At least a little bit. So once the gate is closed, Heather and Jeffries regain the inches they lost to Razor's sword, so they're not going to be shorter. And he's yelling for Aurora. Vindicator, please, Box. I don't feel like talking just now. So once again, Heather has made a big decision and has basically abandoned Aurora to her fate, and Puck, because they at that point don't really know what's happened to him. And like I said, I mean, there's times where that's necessary, but she does it a lot. And if I was one of Alpha, I'd be a little bit worried, frankly. Like, you know, it's from a leader, you'd like a little bit more, you know, no, there's got to be a way to save everybody. Well, in this case, there isn't. And so they know that, yes, they were kind of tricked to come here by Loki to get his revenge. And so now we see, well, we've lost Aurora, we've lost Puck. Now, Northstar, having been cured and having lost Aurora, decides he is going to go back home because he can't really stay on Earth. And so a door opens up in the sky and he goes home to Alfheim to be with the fairy folk. It's gone now, snuffed out like a candle. I hope our speedster finds the happiness that's always eluded him there among his own people. I think he will, Box. Somehow, I think he will. We'd better beat it, teammates. That storm we saw earlier is going to be here any minute. You're wrong, Sasquatch. We've already fought the storm and lost. So the rose is destroyed, the magic is gone, and frankly, so is Alpha. The original Alpha Flight, anyways. I'm telling you, it's a modern comic book with a lot of tragedy. Here's a little epilogue, though. So Loki's feeling pretty good about himself, and then we who sit above in shadow appear. Think not thine acts have gone unobserved. Thou hast defied our ban against seeking revenge upon the mortals. And now 'tis time thou didst pay the price. Hold, lords. Why wouldst thou punish me? I have done naught but good. Have a care, Loki. We are not mortals to be taken in by thy deceptions. And so what he's going to say is, yes, Aurora, well, she seems like she was just left behind, but in fact, Loki magicked her away to a different place. Purged of the elf light, she is a mere mortal now, whom life on earth cannot harm. Further, I have seen to it that although she is memoryless, her mind, cleft into multiple personalities, is now whole. And lastly, I have delivered her to a place where she will be welcomed, sheltered, and hopefully find the peace that has so long eluded her. Probably not the ending for Aurora that most of us who started reading early on would have liked. And the dwarf. And so we see that Puck has also been transported back to the Himalayas and to Tibet. I started my career as a soldier of fortune here a long, long time ago. If my encounter with Razor hadn't turned me into an immortal, pain-racked dwarf, and if being a dwarf hadn't hooked me up with Alpha Flight, I don't think I ever would have left this place. Things weren't working out with Alpha. My talents weren't up to the power of the new team, and Heather clearly loved another. I was on the verge of leaving. Now it looks like someone's given me a chance to start over. A second shot at happiness. Whoever's responsible, thanks. And again, that's where some of the inconsistencies kind of bug me. And he was an awesome character. There's other Marvel characters who punch above their weight, and they also had a guy who could have given him a battle suit. But at least it's a somewhat satisfactory ending for the character. Of course, it's comics. There's never really an ending to anything, is there? So they're like, okay, Loki, yeah, okay, real cute. Yonder doorway leads from here to Asgard. Then I bid thee farewell, fools. Like Odin, the supposedly all-wise, they who sit above in shadow are easily fooled by one born to deceive. True, no mortal suffered this time, but I have not done with Alpha Flight, and as soon as I return to Asgard, this be not the realm of the gods. No, Prince of Duplicity, 'tis the nether realm known as Svartalfheim, and on who better than you should we vent our frustrations? No, they who sit above altered the gateway. So basically, Loki's been tricked. Loki's had to pay a little bit of the price. And so Alpha's flying home, and once again Heather has a tear on her cheek. The Alpha Flight that my late husband forged is gone now. Not a single original member remains. I'm left leader of a trio comprising 3 of the most powerful Alphans ever. To get here, we've had to suffer the deaths of some members and the loss of others. I presided over all that misery. Can I go on? Dare I? I feel like each loss carves another notch in my heart, making me even more cold, callous, cruel. Will I in time sacrifice these Alphans? Worse, would I even offer up the fledgling Beta Flight for some elusive notion of the greater good? Now that I like, because that sums things up actually pretty well, and it's a little bit of introspection I would have liked to have seen earlier. So we follow up. Maybe I'm being too hard on myself. Other leaders of other super teams have had to grapple with the same tough choices. I never asked for this responsibility. Well, in a way she did. But like them, I've inherited it. Maybe someone else would come forth to carry the torch if I let it fall. But they'd have to start from scratch, whereas I've already run the gauntlet and survived, so I guess I've answered my own question. For better or worse, Alpha Flight's mine. May heaven help me. May heaven help them, too. So there we have it, folks. Just into Alpha Flight's 5th year, we see the end of the original team. Guardian died. Marina has left. There are other things in store for her. Sasquatch had seemingly died and has to come back. So I guess in a way, actually there is one original member of Alpha left. It's Walter Lankowski's soul in Snowbird's body. So I guess she's a little wrong there. we've now, as far as they know, Puck is probably dead. He's not really, thankfully. Aurora probably dead. She's not, thankfully. Which, of course, opens, keeps the door open that they could return. North Star has gone to Alfheim. Snowbird is dead. Shaman has left, losing his humanity as well. Like I said when we started this series, Alpha Flight goes through a lot. And I think, again, this is sort of the dawn of modern comic storytelling. You'll find something similar with the Titans in DC. Of course, the X-Men always had issues and problems and transformations as well. But Alpha Flight, man, no super team probably has suffered like Alpha Flight has. Okay, folks. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, share with a friend. We've just got a few more, actually a couple more Alpha Flight Mondays left. Then we're on to Justice League International. Hopefully you'll tune in for those as well. So until next time, God bless everybody. Please be kind to one another. Have a little bit of fun out there. And I will see you again, hopefully soon, in Dad's Den of Pop Culture. Bye-bye.